Introducing a complete guide to survival. Learn how to craft tools and weapons, command powerful creatures, and build your way to the top of the food chain. Experience the Ark like never before. Overcome death with new skills and knowledge. Subscribe now.
Hey guys, I just wanted to introduce a new series I'll be putting out for you called The Survival Handbook. This will be roughly a 27-part, 3-section video series, give or take, that breaks down every detail of the Ark in an easy-to-understand way that should help beginners and intermediate players grasp every aspect of survival. This video in particular will contain some tips and tricks for complete beginners as well, since I value your time and want to give you something you can actually use. Each tip in this video will be broken down into more detail in later videos, so today we'll just be briefly touching on each subject. Without further ado, let's get into it. The first tip I want to share with you is about the different types of resources. There are right around 20 everyday resources you can collect and harvest on the Ark, with some being used more than others. There are two different types of resources, raw and processed. Raw resources are things like oil, hide, wood, fiber, and keratin, while processed resources are things like electronics, cementing paste, and charcoal. In order to harvest most of these resources, you'll need some tools and know-how to get what you need. Remember that a pickaxe collects more thatch, flint, and meat, while a hatchet collects more wood, stone, and hide. But that's not all. The more damage your tool does, the more efficiently you'll be able to gather resources. That's why metal hatchets and pickaxes collect more resources than stone hatchets and pickaxes. Did you know that a chainsaw also works like a hatchet, just more efficiently? There are some dinos that work like hatchets and pickaxes too, like the Doedicurus and the Ankylosaurus, respectively. Remember, we'll be going super in-depth on this topic in another video, so for now let's move on to the next concept. The next tip I want to talk about is navigating Ark's UI. Unfortunately, the UI isn't the best in Ark, so I'm going to give you some super basic tips to help you understand your inventory and other various menus available to you. When you open your inventory, there's kind of a lot of information. You have temperature data and time of day, among other things, at the top of the screen, character stats at the bottom, your character on the right, and inventory on the left. When you're looking at your inventory, there's a crafting button at the top you can click to bring you to all the items you can currently craft. I'm certain most of you have figured this out already, so let's talk about the items at the tippy top of the screen. This button is your inventory and the thing we're used to seeing. Then you have engrams here, which you can navigate to if you have extra points, but no levels to bring you there. Then you have your tribe manager, where you can find a tribe log that details things your tribe has done or things that have been done to your tribe. Then you have tame groups, where you can assign creatures to specific groups that you can then command via hotkeys or radial wheel whistle commands. And lastly, you have the Explorer Notes, where you can review the information within each Explorer Note if you wish to learn more about each original survivor's backstory. Again, we'll be going more in depth with this topic in a later video, so let's move on. The next tip is about crafting. There are loads and loads of things you can craft, and you can find each craftable item in the engram menu. You unlock these craftable items by leveling up and spending engram points on each blueprint. After unlocking the engram, it'll appear in your crafting menu and detail the resources you'll need to craft it, and what crafting station you can make it in. Some items can be crafted in your inventory, like a bow and arrows, while other items like shotguns and metal building blocks will have to be crafted at a smithy, fabricator, or other crafting station. I know a lot of new players accidentally get rid of all crafting information, so there's an icon right here you can select to get the crafting requirements back, and you can press Q to list each item's name. Or if you're on console, you can press down on the left stick to toggle item names. Hopefully these minor crafting tips will help you in the future. Moving on. So if you're just spawning in for the first time, you'll notice there's a lot of different information you can find at the lower right-hand section of the screen. In order, these are XP, weight, hydration, hunger, stamina, and health, with a hidden star icon that appears when you've taken torpor damage. If you have taken torpor damage, make sure the meter doesn't reach halfway or you'll fall asleep. These can be difficult things to manage, so some quick tips about them are to make sure you have enough food to keep yourself fed, and bring some water containers with you if you plan on traveling away from water sources. So in order to adjust those stats we just talked about, you're going to have to level up to get yourself some points to apply to your desired stats. I have a feeling this video is getting lengthy, so let's move on. So after you've leveled a bit and get a good understanding of the menus, you're going to want to build a base. In order to build a base, you'll need a variety of raw resources in order to get started. Base location is really important if you plan on posting up there for any period of time, so make sure you have easy access to fiber, wood, thatch, and metal to start you off. Of course, you're going to need more valuable resources later, but to start out, those are great resources to have nearby. To complete a base, you'll need a foundation, walls, a door frame, a door, and a ceiling. You'll know your base is doing its job when this little house icon appears right here. Essentially, that means that you're sheltered and will take reduced effects from the weather outside. The weather can get pretty crazy on the Ark, so make sure you prioritize a base. Okay, so I can only touch on this subject briefly because there's so much to go into about it, but essentially there are dinos you'll want to avoid when starting out, and dinos you don't even need to worry about at all. The best way to find out whether a dino will kill you on sight is to walk up to it, but of course that could lead to a quick death, so until you know for sure, I recommend avoiding the dinos you see. However, dinos like the Trike, Parasaur, Stegosaurus, and Pteranodon shouldn't give you any trouble. Just don't attack them and you'll be fine. I find a lot of Raptors, Therizinosaurus, and Troodon spawning in beginner areas, so make sure you're avoiding them like the plague because they'll kill you quickly right at the start. Okay, so the penultimate topic I'd like to talk about is taming dinos. I do have a full taming video that you can find popping up on screen right now, but I'm gonna simplify it for this series. There are two taming methods, passive taming and knockout taming. Passive tames usually require you to put the creature's preferred food type in the last slot of your hotbar, then approach them and feed it to them, while knockout tames require you to literally knock the creature out and put its preferred food type in its inventory. This method may make you craft lots of narcotics, but sometimes narcotics aren't necessary depending on the dino's level, what dino it is, and how you choose to knock it out. Be sure to look for the updated version of this taming video in the future. Okay, so the last tip I want to share with you is how to cope with death. Anytime you play Ark, you should expect to die. It's kind of a common theme in the game. So you should do your best to plan and prepare for it. A great way to deal with this is to have small item caches around the map with sleeping bags nearby, or have a base with a bed in it so you can respawn with all your stuff. It's important to have backup supplies if you do have a base already, since the chance of death is so high if you go outside. I do have a pretty basic video on this already, which should be popping up on screen now, but I want to go more in depth with this topic later. If you're super eager to learn more about the Ark and can't wait for this series to be completed, click on the playlist on the left to get you started. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos in this series, as well as future content. As always, thanks for your time today, and we'll see you in the next video.